Hi everyone, and welcome back to my vlog. Lisa Kinoti here. If you're new to the channel, I formally welcome you. If you'd like to know more about me, check out my intro videos on my YouTube channel named after me, Lisa Kinoti. And you will see we get to do a lot of things on this channel, traveling together, just getting to know each other. So hopefully you'll subscribe and you can be one of the first people to get the video as soon as it comes out. But today, let's go right into what I want to talk about, which is how to stop or alleviate mental and emotional suffering. Okay, so we're talking about emotional and mental suffering, which is kind of one and the same thing to me. But as we go into this, I would like to point out that sometimes there's the suffering that we may not be able to avoid, like for example the loss of a loved one. In cases like that, then what we would have to do is just go through the grieving process and just allow it to happen. And that's a very heavy topic that maybe we can go into that in the future, but I just wanted to point out as we go into this that I do understand that there are situations that are very, very hard to apply these 10 points that I'm going to share with you today and actually make them work. So I understand that. I don't want you to think that I'm gonna be sitting here in judgment and saying I've got it all figured out, this is how you stop suffering. No. If you are an avid watcher of my channel, you do know that I always say that I don't stand here as a doctor or a teacher of some sort. I just like to share my personal experiences and things that have helped me in my life, because you know I have been through a lot in my life too. We've talked about depression before, how to beat that, because I went through that myself. And really, one of the things that I love to do is give back. I'm so grateful that I overcame a lot of things in my life, and this is how I show gratitude, by giving back to the universe and helping other people who are going through what I'm going through, or what I went through. So without any further ado, let's go right into it. I have 10 points. My number one point is, if you want to stop and alleviate suffering in your mind and spirit and emotions, you have to make time for yourself. You have to carve out time for yourself. Okay. Now, I know a lot of people are like, but I'm always with myself. Yeah, that's true. You are you, so therefore you can never escape yourself. But a lot of times in life, we go through our entire life avoiding our problems, avoiding our thoughts, avoiding our emotions, avoiding suffering. And how do we do this? We go to work, which is fine because we all gotta work to make money. But sometimes we use work as an escapism, and we just become workaholics and we'll pride ourselves in that. I remember a time in my life when I was working 2 jobs, overtime, all this stuff, and I would tell my friends, man, you know, I'm a workaholic. And I took pride in saying that I'm a workaholic because, you know, it's the opposite of being lazy. Nobody wants people to think that you're lazy. So when you say I'm a workaholic, you're like, shoot, they can never say that I'm lazy. And so I took a lot of pride in that. But with time I realized that part of what I was doing, other than really wanting to make money, which is fine, is I was keeping myself busy. Because at that time I was also suffering from depression. So I went from not being able to get out of bed to actually overworking. But that gave me some sense of power, and it's a good place to start. If you're suffering from depression and you say, hey, I want to go to work so that I don't have to think about my depression, that's fine. Actually, that's a good place to start. But what happens is we use work, we use going out to the club, partying with friends, drinking, playing video games, watching countless hours of Netflix. I love Netflix. But all these are what we call compensation. You're compensating for something that you should be doing or something that you are not doing, you know that you should be doing. So when I say that you should carve out time for yourself, what I mean is some quiet time. No TV, no phone, no video games. No watching video after video after video on Facebook. that's fine. I'm not sitting here and telling you to stop doing those things, but I'm saying carve out a time in your day, every day, that you sit down and meditate. And when I say meditate, I don't necessarily mean sit there and chant, do all this stuff, because a lot of people are like spooked when you say meditate. No, what I mean is spend time quietly with yourself. You don't even have to close your eyes. You can have a pen and paper. We've talked about journaling in the past. Check that video out. But you can just sit there and get to know yourself all over again. Now, why do people run away from this? It doesn't sound so bad, does it? But it's not easy, people. It's not easy at all, because what happens is sometimes when we face ourselves, then we start to notice the little demons that are in there, the fears, the anger, the sadness, the loneliness. Loneliness is a big one. I know when I first started carving out time for myself, I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it because it meant that I was by myself. And a lot of people are afraid to be by themselves. I was afraid to be by myself because we're conditioned by society to believe that if you're by yourself, you're a loser. That means you don't have people who care about you. And we need to get out of that mold. We're going to get into that in a few minutes, because that is also a source of suffering. But when you carve out time for yourself, if you really want to stop suffering, this video is for people who have had enough. You're like, enough is enough. I'm tired of hurting all the time and I want to feel better. If you're serious about that, carve out some time for yourself every day. You can start with 5 minutes of undisturbed time where there's nobody around. You find a quiet place, private place, and you sit there. And I'm going to tell you in the next points what you do while you're sitting there. If you're daring, carve out an hour. If you're even more daring than I am, carve out 2 hours. If it's right now it's quarantine still, most parts of the world, because as I'm shooting this, we're still going through the coronavirus thing, then you've got your whole day. You can carve out 5 hours if you want. But for the beginners, we're gonna say start with I don't even think 5 minutes is enough to do what I'm gonna tell you to do. So maybe 15 minutes, 30 minutes. But I would say an hour is ideal. Hour of your day that you carve out. And in that hour, let's go into what you're doing then. Okay. Number 2, accept your suffering without judgment. It's okay to feel pain. It's okay to feel like you're suffering. It's okay to have negative thoughts. I'm giving you permission right now to accept everything you're going through. How does this play into actually stopping the suffering? A lot of times we actually exacerbate the suffering by beating ourselves up. Why am I feeling like this? I'm a horrible person. What's wrong with me? Why can't I stop thinking about me? Stop thinking about this, And then we go into this negative spiral and it just makes things worse, right? So sometimes when I say carve out time for yourself, which is point number 1, people run away. Some people already turned off this video because they think that means that they have to sit there and listen to their crazy thoughts, and they don't want to do that. But what you're doing here is you're going to take time to listen to your thoughts. You're going to take time to observe what it is that you're feeling. But the first thing I want you to do is to accept it with no judgment. Don't judge yourself. Don't judge your thoughts. Okay? For those of you who want to learn how to stop judging other people, it starts with not judging yourself. Because you know what? We're going to talk about this in a different video. We judge people according to how we judge ourselves, believe it or not. We'll get into that. We'll get into that topic. So as you're sitting there, don't judge yourself. Accept those thoughts. Accept those feelings. Because let me ask you a question. If somebody you truly love and cared about came to you and said, I'm suffering, I'm having horrible thoughts and feelings, would you judge them? If you truly love them, you would not judge them. You would give them the space to share those thoughts. And then you would show them acceptance, true acceptance. And you would allow them to actually, just go into it. And then you would say, oh, it's okay. We all say that to people we love. It's okay. So why don't we do that for ourselves? You know, do not judge yourself for suffering. Even if you think the suffering is caused by yourself, do not judge yourself for suffering. So we go straight into point number 3, which is face your suffering head on, baby. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Because at the end of the day, you know what fear is? Fear is false evidence that appears real. Okay. Yeah, fear is a good thing because fear tells you to get away. If you're somewhere and there's a bomb threat, yeah, be afraid because that fear is going to give you the energy to flee, fight or flight. So fear is going to help you to get away from situations that are not good for you. So fear is not a bad thing. But in a lot of situations, in the primal days, fear was designed to actually help us to fight other tribes off that are trying to kill us off or whatever. But we live in a day and time where fear has become so predominant in our lives. Like sometimes we use fear in ways that are unnecessary. Like we fear things that we should not even really be afraid of. In this case, fearing emotions and thoughts cannot really hurt you unless you let them. When I say face your suffering head on and do not be afraid, is you will start to face those demons. They will start to come up. If you're a person that is anxious, you will not be able to sit still because the anxiety is going to come up, and you're going to start having these thoughts that just driving you crazy, and you're like, I can't do this, and all of a sudden you feel this fear. If you're a depressive, you're like, I don't need to be sitting here. There are actually maybe mental health professionals that might tell you to get up and go do other things as opposed to just sitting there because of the fear that you will go deeper into the depression. But what we're doing here is we're being proactive. And so when you face those fears head on and you face that suffering head on, I'm just saying, do not be afraid. When you sit there for those, maybe that hour that you are actually facing what's going on inside you, I'm just saying that recognize the fear when it rises and realize that you're not in any real danger and just forge forward. And now I'm going to go into the fourth point. My fourth point, which is what you do then, is practice self-inquiry. What is self-inquiry? Oh my gosh. I'm going to say this is maybe one of the best points I could share with you today. This is the one thing that has really helped me in my life so much. Self-inquiry is when you sit there and you ask yourself questions about yourself. Okay, there are many ways of practicing self-inquiry. Some people practice self-inquiry even in meditation and so many things. Just Google self-inquiry and do the research on that. In this case, when I say self-inquiry, I'm saying that as you're sitting there asking yourself questions like, why am I suffering? What is suffering? What is causing my suffering? Now we're going into the problem solving. The first 3 points, we were identifying the problems, okay? And self-inquiry is also part of identifying the problem, but it also goes into problem solving. Because how can you solve a problem if you don't know what the problem is? How can you alleviate your suffering if you do not know what suffering is and what's causing it in your life? Okay. So as you do your self-inquiry, I also would say have a pen and paper, have your journal with you so that you can actually write down what you're discovering. Maybe you can say, because for those of us who are new in this process, it might start with other people. My teacher causes my suffering. My parents are causing my suffering. My siblings are causing my suffering. My friend is causing my suffering. Whoever it is that you think is bringing the suffering in your life. I say beginners in this process because as you continue with self-inquiry and as you continue in this journey, and it's the journey I've been on, of really going deep into figuring out why you feel what you feel, why you go through what you go through in life, you're going to get to a place where you'll realize that it doesn't matter who's bringing the suffering into your life. At the end of the day, you're allowing it. Please don't shut the video off. This is the part that people get mad because they don't want to hear this. People don't like to hear that they're causing their own suffering. You know, but I'm willing to share this with you, because if someone's really trying to help you, then they'll tell you the truth, right? But we'll get to that. But in self-inquiry, you're discovering where your suffering is coming from. You know, I'll let that sink in with you for a minute. So as you discover the causes of your suffering, you write them down, and then you go into inquiring how you can stop that suffering, how you can change that in your life. I even went into asking yourself who you are, asking yourself, who am I? Because in the process of asking yourself who you are, that'll take you even deeper into what's causing it and why you're reacting to it. You know, who am I? Who am I? You know, am I an independent person? Am I my own person? Am I this body? Am I these emotions? Am I these thoughts? I don't want to go too deep into this. We'll talk about self-inquiry in a different video that's specifically for that. But in this case, as you go deeper, as you do this self-inquiry every day, you'll naturally start to be more curious, because it'll work, and then you'll discover more and more about yourself, and you'll be able to ask yourself questions like, well, if that person out there is bringing suffering into my life, well, who am I? Who is allowing this suffering to come into my life? Do I have a choice? Am I able to say, no, thank you? You can keep the suffering to yourself, because like I said, people love to share. Good or bad, they love to share. And misery loves company, and some people are miserable and they'll bring misery to you. You have a choice to accept it or not. You're not helpless. Trust me, you're not. You might feel like you are, but you're not. You have the choice to take that gift and give it back to them and say, you know what, I don't like this gift. Thanks, but no thanks. You can keep that. But it is in self-inquiry and spending time with yourself, loving yourself, accepting yourself, that you become empowered enough to say no to suffering and things and people that bring suffering into your life, right? I've even talked in a past video about watching certain shows and watching the news every single day and all that. Things, not just people, things can bring suffering into your life. So during self-inquiry, and I'm going to get deeper into this a few points from now, you realize that you start to really learn yourself, and you start to understand what's causing the suffering and can you stop it. And you might even realize that every day you're watching negative news, and every day you're listening to negative people, you hang out with negative people, you doing negative things, you know, and you realize that your thought pattern has become negative all the time. And then that's when you realize that, oh, okay, now it's clear. Now I see where it's coming from, and now I feel empowered to actually go and do something about it. Point number 5 is another one that's a lot of people don't like to accept. When I first heard this, I didn't want to accept it. And that is that you have to accept full responsibility for the misery and joy and everything in your life. But Lisa, how can I accept full responsibility for things that I didn't do? I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask to have these parents or these siblings, or to be in this city, or to be in a country that's underdeveloped. I didn't ask for those things. So how can you sit there and tell me that I should accept full responsibility for those things? You know, I don't blame you. I totally understand where you're coming from. But accepting responsibility for things in our life is a step towards freedom. It takes the power away from other people and other things. That's why we do that. When you accept full responsibility for your life, you start to actually do things in your life that are better for you. You start to realize that you're not a victim. And I said earlier in this video that there are situations where you will be a victim and you can't help what's happening to you at that moment, and that's different. But here we're talking about you're a regular person living a regular life, but you don't know why you're suffering. You take full responsibility of your life, okay? Yeah, maybe you had a horrible childhood and your parents were horrible to you. Okay, I'm not discounting that. But for how long are you going to play the victim and allow that to continue to affect your life, even as a grown-up who doesn't live with the parents anymore? Or you are in a situation where maybe your boss is horrible to you. How long are you going to stay at that job and continue to suffer and continue to blame your boss when there's other jobs out there? Now maybe you're in a situation or city or country where jobs don't come that easily. There are still ways to alleviate your suffering by not accepting, by actually blocking, and we're going deep here, but you can block things and people from bringing their misery into your life. So you're gonna be in different situations where you're not gonna feel responsible for what's happening in your life, but 9 times out of 10 you actually can do something about it. We just choose to stay in a victim mentality and not do anything about it. But what I'm saying is, if you have the power to actually stop your own suffering, wouldn't you do it? Right? So realizing that you may not have full control on what other people do, what's going on in the actual world, but also realizing that you do have full control over your own feelings, emotions, thoughts, words, and actions. That's what accepting full responsibility is. You have a choice to let that person mess with your head or not. I know a lot of times we feel like we don't have a choice. But if you're really serious about alleviating suffering in your life, do your research. How to master my emotions. Just Google it. You'll be surprised. You will be surprised. Even what I'm bringing to you today comes as a result of me personally wanting some years ago to stop and alleviate suffering out of my life. And I started a journey. And even for the last year, it's been a year since I did my last video on how to beat depression. Because what was I doing for the last year? Walking my own walk, doing my own research, reading countless of material to help myself, going to silent retreats, watching video after video after video on these topics. You have to take responsibility. Be proactive in your own life. Nobody is going to come and drop this on your lap. Everybody in this world is out for themselves. Even your own parents. I'm sorry to say it, because yeah, they care about you, they love you, but you get to a certain age and you're out of the house, right? And they continue with their lives and you continue with your life. So nobody is responsible for you. Really, nobody is responsible for you. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you're not 5 years old or 10 years old. I'm assuming you're at an age where you can take responsibility and understand that nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes me anything. Nobody owes you happiness. Nobody owes you peace. Nobody owes you food. Nobody owes you money. Okay, maybe somebody somewhere out there owes you money, that you gave your money. But what I'm saying is nobody owes you anything. That's the kind of world we live in. Every man for himself, God for us all. It's sad, but it's true. So unless you understand that you are responsible for your own life, for yourself, for your actions, for your feelings, for your emotions, for your thoughts if I haven't said that already. The sooner you understand that, the better. Then you start to actually be a powerful individual. You become powerful. Just the thought of when I first said to myself, I am responsible for each and everything in my life, it was scary. But when I kept saying it and it started actually sinking in, it ended in me feeling more powerful, because I was like, I actually have more power than I thought I had. I've beaten that horse to death. So let's move on to the next point. Forgive yourself and others. Forgiveness. Letting go of your past. I said forgive yourself first, because a lot of us suffer because we have not let go of our past and forgiven ourselves. And then the next step of suffering is you haven't forgiven people in your past. Your past doesn't have to be your childhood. It could be yesterday. It could be 2 hours ago. Somebody did and said something to you that was very hurtful. You have the right to feel hurt, yeah. But again, you have full responsibility on what you're gonna do with that hurt that they introduced into your life. Forgiveness is a very, very touchy subject as well, because people come to me and they'll say, I can't forgive that person. And I've been there myself, Maybe this person did something that you feel is unforgivable. But why do I say forgiveness can help alleviate your suffering? Sorry about that, guys. A lot of sirens and noises going on in the background there. I say forgive yourself and others because forgiveness is really something that is specifically for you. We actually think that we're doing the other person a favor when we forgive them. But in reality, you're not doing anything for that person. I don't even know how to explain this to you. I keep wanting to go into this deep subjects that would actually need their own video to go into, but I'm going to just say on the surface that you're not doing the other person any favors unless they truly believe that you forgiving them is going to help them. And that's a person who has come to you and said that, please forgive me, I can't sleep at night. Okay. But most people really don't give a crap if you forgive them or not. And a lot of people that have hurt you don't even know they hurt you. They don't even think they hurt you. People can be self-serving and selfish like that, where they do things that are hurtful to you and they don't know that it's hurtful to you. It's not even that they don't care, they just don't know. So in situations like that, you're waiting for this person to apologize or to do something that's going to make you feel better so you can forgive them, and they never will. So who's losing their sleep at night? Who's getting stressed? Who's developing all these stress-related diseases because there's somebody that you will not forgive? You. Forgiveness is for you. It's not for the other person. When we forgive, we let go of that story. Because life is nothing but stories that we carry around. This is your universe. Nobody's in it. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. You create this. You are the one that comes up with the stories. Nobody is in it. But people are in it every day, Lisa. And they're bringing me grief that I didn't ask for. Who makes the choices in your life? When you forgive someone, it's you saying, I'm choosing not to think about this anymore. I'm choosing not to dwell on this anymore. I'm choosing not to give this my energy anymore. Yeah, that person hurt me, but I'm choosing not to give that my energy anymore. One of the most stress-causing situations in an adult life can be something like divorce. Okay. And we can spend our whole lives angry at this person. And the person moves on, they marry again, and we're still angry. Who are you hurting? Who are you really hurting? Are you hurting the person? No. They're having fun over there. They're moving on with their life. You're hurting yourself. We cause our own suffering because we choose not to forgive ourselves and others. We choose not to let go of the story. Forgiving yourself. Oh, you know, I did this and I did that, and I can never forgive myself for that. It's a story that you keep telling yourself and rebelieving it every single day. Let go of the stories. Leave it alone. Let go of your past. Let go of the stories. You want to ease your own suffering? Let go of the stories. Let it go. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm yelling at you, but I need this to sink in. You gotta let it go. And that's the only way that you will find peace. The other person is not going to bring you peace. There's even situations where people have come to a person and said, forgive me, and the person is like, I'll never forgive you. Who are you hurting? Yourself. It's like you're carrying a sack of rocks, a sack full of rocks, and you're refusing to put it down. Carry on, sister. Carry on, brother. But you'll never find peace if you don't set that sack of rocks down. That's what forgiveness is. Put the rocks down. Travel light, like my friend Frida likes to tell me. Travel light, sister. She tells me. Travel light. Number 7. Oh, we're going to go deeper. Some people are going to be so mad at me, but it's okay. It's okay. These are all things that have worked for me. So if you don't feel like it's for you, that is fine. I'm not going to pick up them rocks and carry you. Nope. But if we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about this. And I'm not sitting here because I'm perfect and I have it all figured out. Like I said, I'm sharing things that have been working for me even right now as I speak. There are times when I forget. This video, in fact, is going to be helpful to me too. There are times when I forget. And these are not things that I came up with on my own. These are things that I've learned from other people, from books, from research, from myself too. But they're things that I've learned along the way that I think are going to be helpful to you too if you seriously want to alleviate your suffering. Number 7, drop all dogma and rigidity. Dogmatic and fundamentalist beliefs actually cause suffering. Whoa, I didn't even want to talk about this, but I gotta stay true to myself. If I'm going to talk about a topic, I'm going to talk about it all the way. I grew up in a very, very, very religious background. Most of us do. Not going to mention religions. Every religion has its dogmas and fundamentalist beliefs. And it's not just religion. It's politics, cultural beliefs. And I'm not about to tell you to drop your religious beliefs, drop your cultural beliefs, drop your political beliefs. No, that's not what this is about. It's about dogma. When you hold on to something so strongly that everybody else is wrong and you're right, you're already causing suffering to yourself. Yes. Yes. Because you're easily going to get into arguments with people. You're easily going to be offended by news articles. Or you're going to be watching TV and next thing you know you're angry. You're going to hear a friend say something and it doesn't go with what you believe, and now your whole day is messed up. You're going to be unhappy that your son or daughter wants to marry somebody who is not from the same culture as you. Now you're suffering. Everything that everybody outside of you does is going to affect you because you have chosen to become a fundamentalist in everything you do. You have chosen to be dogmatic, to hang on to something like a pit bull to a bone. Stress is inevitable when you live like that. I'm not even gonna try to convince you. I want you to just, once after you finish watching this video, I want you to just watch some more videos online or turn on the TV, watch a movie, talk to a friend, talk to a relative, talk to your grandparents, and I want you to observe, what are the things that cause human suffering? What are the things that are causing suffering in people around you? Is it not what they believe in? Not telling you not to have beliefs, but I want you to think about this with me. Is it not what they seriously believe in, and believe that there's nothing else other than what they believe in? Back in the day in Africa, you couldn't get married to somebody from a different tribe than you. Your parents would not be happy about that. Your grandparents would not be happy about that. So that caused suffering. You know, I remember growing up and watching people suffer because their parents said, you can't marry that guy. He's not from our tribe. He's not from our clan. People would pretty much want to commit suicide because they're in love with this person, but they respect their parents. And back then, it wasn't like now where kids are like, forget that, I'm a person of my own. Back then, it was you had to listen to your parents or you would be excommunicated from your community, and nobody wanted that. Let's go into a bigger scope here. What causes the most wars, the most fighting in this world from thousands of years ago? Differences. Differences in religion, differences in culture, differences in race, differences in everything. The human race has been in such a way that if this group is different than this group, we're going to fight it out until one of us wins, and whoever wins is right. Whoever wins is superior. Yeah, you have to believe in what I believe in, or we're not going to get along. How does this not cause suffering in a person's life, in a whole community? We have to understand that these things that we allow to become our identities, I identify with this clan, I identify with this tribe, I identify with this race, I identify with this nation, I identify with this religion, I identify with this philosophy, I identify with this, I identify with that. Nothing wrong with identifying with groups. But a lot of times this can become dogmas if we allow them, where we start to exclude people, we start to treat people differently and unfairly, and then we cause suffering to others and to ourselves. Because I know people that if you want to mess up their day, you say something bad about their favorite football team. Something as little as that. Say something bad about their favorite football team and you're going to be in a fight. Say something bad about their political party and you're going to be in a fight. Say something bad about their country. I'm not saying don't be patriotic, but come on, man. You know, we let things dictate how we feel. And that's why I was saying that this particular point here might get me in some problems, is because there are people watching right now probably who are already offended. How dare you tell me that my beliefs are causing my suffering? See, right there, that's dogma. That's a belief. You already believe that your belief is so important to you that, yeah, you're willing to sacrifice your happiness for your belief. But then you ask me how to stop your suffering. I had examples of dogmatic beliefs, you know, like my religion is better than yours. My political party is better than yours. I'm right and you're wrong, and we're going to sit here and argue for hours until I prove to you that I'm right and you're wrong. This race is more superior and that race is inferior. And we dedicate our whole lives into pretty much proving ourselves right and proving our beliefs right, instead of being open to the truth. Okay, the truth, Lisa, but what I believe in is the truth. How do you know that? Have you done your own research, or are you just regurgitating what you have been programmed with from childhood? You've been programmed and conditioned to hate those people because they're different. You never bothered to go find out how different they are and if it's true. And then you wonder why you're suffering. What happens when you end up in a place where there's nothing but those people you were told not to like? Oh, you're going to suffer. Every day you're going to suffer. Every day you're going to suffer. So letting go of those dogmas is a huge step. Huge step towards stopping your suffering. When I realized this and I started slowly letting go of dogmas, I realized people would even tell me it's like nothing affects you. Because I laugh at everything. Because I pretty much decided that, hey, if my favorite football team, which is Auburn, War Eagle, American football, doesn't win, it's not gonna mess up my day. It's just football. Okay? Maybe, and I don't like politics, but maybe there's a particular person that I liked listening to when they were campaigning. Something they were saying really resonated with me. Okay, if they don't win, life goes on for me. Okay? Maybe I was brought up in a certain religion. Maybe I believe in this and I believe in that. I'm not going to go into that, but I run into somebody who believes in something totally different. I have a choice whether to get in an argument with them, whether to let what they believe in ruin what I believe in, whether to hate them or love them. It's a choice, people. There's nothing inside you running the show for you. It's you. You have the choice. You have that choice to make on how you're going to react to things, people, beliefs, differences. And when you learn that you are responsible for you and you have the power to make choices, your suffering is going to reduce by 50% at least, just from doing this part. Just from doing this part. I could go on and on and on this. I mean, there's already people watching that really want to get into arguments with me about this stuff. But just observe the world for yourself. Just observe life for yourself. Just observe people for yourself. And you realize that I'm brave enough to say 99% of suffering is caused by our belief system. Our belief system. If you want me to go deeper into this topic, you have a question about this topic, you have a opinion, feel free to write in the comment section, and I'll have the choice to react or not react to it, or make a video. Let's move on, guys, before I make this video too long. Number 8, let go of expectations and outcomes. This one was a hard one for me, and I still find myself messing up in that area sometimes. Letting go of expectations and outcomes. You cannot make everyone say or do what you want them to do, so quit expecting outcomes from others. Let me give examples. Maybe a guy that I really liked promised that we were gonna go do something Saturday. Today's Thursday. Saturday rolls around and I didn't hear from the guy. My whole weekend would be messed up. My whole month, sometimes my whole year would be messed up because I was so disappointed. So this was a source of a lot of suffering for me. If I expected people to be kind to me and they weren't, if I expected people to like me and they didn't, if I expected a friend to do this or show up a certain way for me and they didn't, that was a cause of suffering. And it's a cause of suffering for a lot of us. Relationships are one of the biggest causes of suffering. And that's because we have expectations. Nothing wrong with expectations, but don't let it run your life and then ruin your life. Yes, people should treat us right, okay? Like in the case of that guy, yes, I should have dumped him, right? So yeah. We should have healthy expectations. In the least, we should expect people to be kind and caring people and respectful and all that stuff. Yeah, there's the realistic expectations. But we shouldn't let our expectations dictate how we feel. Which is why I say just let go of those expectations. Outcomes. You're doing something, and if it doesn't turn out a certain way, your life is ruined. Life doesn't work that way. There are some times that you will do things and they may not turn out exactly the way that you wanted them to turn out. People might not say exactly what you want them to say. You know, sometimes you can find that you could be obsessive compulsive, and if your lover doesn't say a certain word exactly the way you want them to say, it doesn't matter what else they say, it's just ruined. Expectations and outcomes can lead to disappointment. So just be a free spirit. Just live life as it is, accept life as it is, accept things as they are. Accept people as they are. So this person is not a pleasant person. Okay, now we know they're not a pleasant person. So we're gonna let their actions affect us anymore? No, we're just gonna accept it the way it is. This person is rude and unpleasant. They don't seem to change. So I'm making the decision to not let their actions and words affect me anymore. I can leave the room. And we're going to get to this point very soon. You know, I can choose not to spend time with them. I can choose to go live my life and let them sit there with their misery, right? But if I keep expecting this person to change, I'm going to keep being disappointed that they're not changing. So that's a very short point for me. It's straight to the point. Just let go of those expecting outcomes to come out a certain way, because that can also cause suffering. Point number 9, we're getting to the end here. Don't take yourself and others so seriously. And I'm not telling you to be a cartoon and run around laughing at everything, laughing at everyone, laughing at your boss, because yeah, he'll fire you. No. I'm just saying that sometimes we take life so seriously. You see people go walk around the streets. You see people walking around with these long, serious faces in the office, in church, in synagogue, wherever it is you go to worship. You see people walking around with these long, stern faces. Because we've been taught that if you're not a serious person, nobody's going to take you seriously. So you just got to be serious about everything. So somebody says something to you, you take it seriously. It hurts your feelings. You even take yourself so seriously that you hurt your own feelings. Let's say you're a high school student. Maybe there are a few that are watching. And you're sitting in the deli or cafeteria eating by yourself, and there's a group of what they call in America mean girls or whatever, you know, the rich kids. They're sitting over there and they're laughing, and you will look up and you realize they're looking at you laughing. It's gonna hurt your feelings, right? Because you're gonna start wondering, what is it about me? What are they saying? What are they looking at? Why are they laughing at me? Do I have a booger? You know? Am I ugly? Am I too fat? Now you start judging yourself. You're taking yourself too seriously. Learn to laugh at yourself sometimes, and don't take people seriously. I love the advice that people give performers, like when you're about to go perform and you're scared, a friend might say, just imagine everybody in their underwear. Why does that work so well? Because all of a sudden you're not taking the audience so seriously. Because what makes us nervous is we tend to elevate other people above ourselves and put them on a pedestal. And so now we all of a sudden think that they're better than us. And so everything they say hurts our feelings. If they say we're ugly, it must be true because they're better than us. If that group of kids over there is laughing at me, well, they're better than me, so it must be something wrong with me, and then it bothers me all day. But what if you imagined all of them in their underwear? What if in your mind they're all silly and you don't take them seriously enough? You'll be laughing back at them. What if you already laughed at yourself because you don't take yourself so seriously? I remember one of my yoga teachers one time saying that sometimes she would say to herself, look at me go, when she's having a bad day. Look at me being so awkward. Look at me just... And it wasn't in a judgmental way. She wasn't judging herself. She would just make fun of her little trip-ups. By the time you're making fun of her trip-up, she doesn't care. She already laughed at herself. So you're laughing. You're not laughing at her. You're laughing with her. She's already laughing. So if we start taking people too seriously and taking ourselves too seriously and taking life too seriously, just enjoy life. Laugh a little. Enjoy a laugh is what I was going to say. Enjoy life, laugh a little. And you'll see, laughter goes a long way, people. Learn to laugh at things, you know. And my brother said this to me before, he laughs at everything. And that's a great way to relieve stress. Final point, people. Yes. This is a very, 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 very powerful one. I saved the best for last. Clean up your life. Declutter your life. And what do I mean by this? Do I mean clean up your house? Yeah, it's not what I mean, but it's part of it. You know, discoveries have been made, studies have been made that have proved that cleaning up could actually relieve your stress. Taking a shower, cleaning your body, decluttering your room, you know, can actually relieve your stress. But the type of cleaning up that I'm talking about is more like get rid of the things and people in your life that cause your suffering. Some people are gonna say that this is a harsh thing to say. And it kind of is. But desperate times call for desperate measures, people. And there are some times that you find that you have the wrong friends. You have negative people around you. And that no matter how hard you try to do the first 9 points that I mentioned to you, you still end up in the gutter of stress because this person just won't let you be happy. Some of you are probably in relationships you shouldn't be in, with people you shouldn't be with. You know, you're working in jobs that you shouldn't be working at because you're too scared to go out there and see what else is out there. So day in, day out, you and your coworkers, you complain all day about the boss, about this person, about the coworker, and you go home and you talk about it with your spouse or with your friend or your roommate, and then it's a rat race. You just keep going on. It's a cycle. You're a hamster stuck in this little cage, going around in a wheel, going nowhere. If you're really serious about alleviating suffering from your life, in your life, then you have to be ready to take serious measures. Heck, move to another city if you have to. Move to another country if you have to. I know it's not as easy as I said. It's easier said than done. I know it's not, some things are not easy to do, but nothing is impossible when you are determined. Determination and fire, man. Fire will burn through anything, and determination is fire. And when you're determined to alleviate the suffering from your life, then you're gonna take the measures that you need to take. And yes, it might cause loneliness. So you're like, Lisa, if I dump all my friends because they're negative, is it not gonna cause me suffering because then I'm gonna be lonely? Yeah, maybe for a while, but a different type of suffering. You can learn how to stop feeling lonely when you're by yourself. And that's by practicing the first point we said, which is carving time for yourself and learning how to enjoy yourself by yourself. So yeah, you don't have to feel lonely just because you're by yourself. When I started making moves in my life to alleviate suffering and to develop myself, I realized that there can be loneliness in self-development, because when you're moving from this part of life to this part of life, people change. You realize that some friends are not going to be your friends anymore because they think that you now have become too serious about self-development. You're not fun anymore. You don't want to go out and drink all night anymore, and you don't want to do this and you don't want to do that, and so you're boring now. And I'm not saying that don't go out with friends and drink. No. It's just an example. What I'm saying is, you realize that as you go out, some things have to drop. Some things have to drop out of your life. And it's not just people. Maybe you feel like crap because you're eating crappy food. Drop the crappy food. Maybe you drink too much, or you're doing drugs, and that's what's causing suffering in your life. Go to a AA meeting, go to a Narcotic Anonymous meeting, and learn how to drop those things out of your life if you're serious about it. Maybe you watch the news every day and now you can't sleep at night because now you feel like the world is not safe anymore. Maybe it's time for you to stop watching the news. Trust me. Somebody will tell you what's going on. I remember when I completely stopped watching the news. I always have hated watching the news anyways, but when I really made the decision not to watch the news, I remember one of my friends asked me, but how will you know if there's a tornado coming? Or how will you know if there's if your city is about to be, invaded by another country? Or how will you know if you're supposed to evacuate something? And you know what I told him? Because you're going to tell me. News is always going to travel, regardless of whether you watch it or not. Somebody's going to tell you what's about to happen. You're going to find out. But if you have to watch the news, you can watch it, but don't watch it every day. If there are things that are causing you suffering, drop them. That's what I mean by cleaning up your life, decluttering your life. Letting go of those places, things, situations, relationships, and people that cause you suffering. You might be in a situation where you can't do that. Maybe you're too young to move, and you live in a house that you just have to be there for now. Well, planning is going to help you. Planning your future. One day I'm going to get out of this house. One day I'm going to do this. And writing down your plans and having a time frame set. Like maybe you're 16, you say, when I'm 18, I'm going to move out and I'm going to go off on my own, go to college, and have my own place. I'm going to work. So if you're in a situation you can't get out of, planning how to get out of it can alleviate some of the suffering. Because I really understand that these pointers are not going to immediately work for everyone, and some people are not going to be able to immediately put these into practice. But if you're in a position where you can do those things, do those things. And people are going to think that you're being harsh and selfish, but it starts with loving yourself first. I always say this in every video that I make. And I'm not saying that in every case and situation that you're going to have to get rid of people from your life that are causing suffering. In some situations, in some relationships, that may not be the best option. Maybe it's you going to this person, maybe it's a spousal situation, or a sibling situation, or parents and kids. Yeah, maybe in those types of situations and relationships, you could go to this person and say, hey, You know, your actions towards me are causing suffering, or my reactions to your actions are causing suffering. And if this person really cares about you, you know, you could say, hey, what can we do together to improve our relationship so that we're both not suffering? But again, it goes back to expectations, you know. So be a good judge of your situation, you know. But there are times when unfortunately people have had to move away from family or move away from people that they do love so that they can have more peace, you know. That's why they call it like dealing with someone with a long wooden stick. You still love them, but from a distance. If you feel like you cannot cohabitate, you know, with this person without causing suffering. But of course, yes, I definitely encourage trying to find other ways to improve the relationship, and then use this as a last resort. Is decluttering your life a last resort? I've tried this, I've tried that, this person doesn't want to change, the situation is not changing, and I just keep suffering. Then you owe it to yourself. It's not selfish. Even on an airplane, I love to say this, when they're showing you the emergency procedures, they'll say, you know, the oxygen mask that comes from the ceiling, put it on yourself first before you put it on the person next to you. If you're sitting with an elderly person or a person that's not able to do it themselves, or a child. Yeah, in life we think it's selfish to help ourselves first, but in reality, you cannot help anyone when you're weak. You cannot help anyone when you're out of oxygen. So you have to put the oxygen mask on first, and then put it on the person that you're supposed to be helping. So there is nothing selfish or wrong about taking care of yourself, removing yourself from situations and relationships, and going out there, taking care of yourself first, so that you may be able to come back to this and help that person. It's up to you. But the number one priority and responsibility is you. So I hope this video has really been helpful. If there are things that I didn't mention that you would like to hear me mention, you have more suggestions, things that have helped you personally in your life, please share in the comment section so that the other people watching the video can also read those comments and also, you know, benefit from your views as well. If you have questions, I always welcome questions. If you have topics that you'd like for me to talk about, I definitely welcome those as well. Let me know how it's going for you. If you've decided to take these points and practice them in your own life, you feel like they're helpful after some time, you can always come back to this video. You can always leave me a message and let me know that this is really, really helpful for you guys. It's been helpful in my life, and I'm all about sharing the things that have helped me personally in my life. Okay, thank you so much for watching the video. If you liked it, click the like button, click on subscribe, and when you do click on subscribe, always click on the bell icon, because the bell icon is gonna make it where as soon as I post a video, you get first dibs to it. You get it immediately. Don't forget to be good to yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Ciao.